Welcome back to BK Nothing But Nets podcast. I'm joined by just John today. We may get Dylan in a little bit. There was a miscommunication. I had a typo. I sent two, supposed to be three, but we figured it out. John's here. John, the, the Nets fall short again to Indiana. 2 games in a row they fall short to Indiana. Trendon Watford, our barefisted brawler, actually cooked and played really well. No suspension, I guess. But your thoughts on no suspension for Watford and your thoughts on the game in general.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting how they fined Watford a lot of money. I'm like, he didn't even punch anybody. Like these people with these fines are so weird sometimes. But thankfully, it wasn't a suspension because if you suspend him, you would have had to suspend Turner, and if you didn't suspend both, that could have definitely been a potential problem there. So glad that wasn't anything too crazy. But yeah, it was just a cold game for most of the game yesterday, except towards the end when the Nets staged that big 20-point comeback. But they just didn't have enough firepower. And not having a point guard, you can see how this team really functions, which is just shooting up a lot of threes and hoping some stuff sticks. Just not a lot of firepower, and the Pacers just had more firepower on their side. So yeah, it was a cold game for the Nets. But looking at the results, at the end of the day, we protected our Bucks pick with these 2 losses, and thankfully we did get these 2 losses because the Bucks they won the last 2 games, so we actually helped the Pacers stay ahead of them. So even though we didn't win these games, we actually kind of did help give the Pacers a little cushion there. So I take some out of that. But yeah, just a cold game, and we only have 11 games to go. It'll be interested to see how we end and who is gonna make a case for why I should be on this team next summer.
I want to get to that just a second. Hold that for one thought because I want to talk about Watford because we never really talk about Watford being back. He's missed most of this. I want to spend some time on that. I do want to look at the tank standings. I think we're going to be good. We got 2 games up with Dallas. I will be there next Monday in the building.
Oh,
I will be there in Dallas. But I think we're in good shape. I think we're locked in here in the 5 spot. I can't see us catching New Orleans, and I'm just looking at the schedule. Toronto, we talked about Toronto. They're just going to win too many games. Like, they can't help it. Their schedule's so bad and so weak. I think we're locked in the 5 spot, John. What are your thoughts on how the tank, and let's assume we end here at 5. What's your thoughts on how the tank went and ending up in the 5th spot?
like I said, ever since we were on the edge of the play-in cliff, we went way back from that, and thankfully we did. And now we're around the 5th seed. So Operation Damage Control is kind of going successful. Now, say we somehow landed a tie with Philly, that'll be interesting to see how that all evens itself out. But having the 5th or 6th odds does give us a crack at least making top 6. I think for the Nets right now, being top 6 would be great because this tank didn't go like it was supposed to, and that's to credit to Jordy because he cared so much this season about whoever was on this team that they were going to play with A+ effort. And if you weren't going to play with A+ effort, obviously Jordy wasn't going to play them. So I guess these guys all took that to heart, and they've been giving you effort on a night-to-night basis. The fact we've only gotten blown out severely one time by the Clippers in 82 games with this iteration of this team, I don't want to say it's a miracle, but man, I don't know if any other coach could have done what Jordy's done in this situation, because that to keep those guys in that type of mindset and mood for a whole bunch of games where you're not trying to compete for anything this year, that's not an easy thing to do. So maybe this could work out for the Brooklyn Nets. I still don't know how this is all going to turn out, but being in having the 5th odds is definitely better than nothing at this point, I would say. And being far away from the play-in is our best chance as far as cracking top 6 and hopefully not being around 7 or 8. So there's still a lot left to unfold here, but I feel good about where we're at. It's just May 12th. We're going to find out if all the work put in by the front office and this team this year will amount to getting a top pick. We will see.
And then I want to also move on to this. The Bucks pick right now is where are we at? 19. Anywhere from 17 to 22 is really clustered. Like, it's within 2.5 games. 17. I mean, that pick could be from anywhere from 17 to 22. And that's a massive difference. Picking 17 and picking 22 is a major difference. Isn't that right, John?
Most definitely, and the fact that it's so bunched up right now. Listen, the Bucks they've been riding on Giannis a lot this season. Giannis, from the games I've seen, he's slowing down a little bit, but he's still giving you his effort when he can. But they're definitely running some tough matchups. These next 3 games against the Suns, the Nuggets, and the Knicks, they're like 3 of their toughest remaining games left. Still have some tough games at the end, but these 3 could definitely decide where this Bucks pick could fall in a few weeks. So you definitely like where the pick is at. It's just these other teams that are bunched up have to get the work done. The Kings should have won yesterday, but they relied on DeMar and Zach LaVine to take ill-advised mid-range shots at the end, which was just ludicrous. But hey, you still have these next 3 tough games. So I feel good about where the pick is at. Also, the Knicks are going to take on the Bucks next week, and the Knicks pick as well is important as well. The Knicks, their last 8 games of the season is a tough schedule for them. So that Knicks pick could fall anywhere from 24 to 25 potentially. So having 2 picks near that 20 threshold, I think is an advantage for Brooklyn, where we could draft some good prospects or potentially trade up in the draft. So I think the Knicks pick and the Bucks pick are definitely looking a lot better than we thought they would this season. But the Bucks pick especially could be that pot of gold pick that nobody's expecting it to turn out something good. So I like where we're at. Just let's see where we're at the end with it.
The Knicks pick and the Rockets pick, these picks right here are interesting because these are bunched in here too. Like we could be picking anywhere from 24 to 20. With the Bucks pick, I don't think we're gonna. I think we're not gonna pick any worse than 19. I don't think the Clippers and Golden State to me right now are 2 of the best teams in the West. I think they're gonna keep winning games left and right. So I don't think the Bucks are gonna win more games than them. Can either of these other teams? Minnesota is playing well right now. Detroit is pretty good. Can we catch those teams? Can we get all the way up to 17, or do you think we're pretty much going to be locked in here around 19?
I think there's still a lot of tough games left, but I think these next 3 games the Bucks have against the Suns, Nuggets, and Knicks, I think the teams that are near the Bucks, you should win those games that the Bucks might potentially lose because the Bucks still have a few easy games coming up as well against teams like Pelicans and Miami. So this week, I think if you're a team that's fighting to get ahead of the Bucks, and for us hoping that Bucks pick stays around 17 to 20, these teams got to win games. We also have Minnesota against the Pacers tomorrow night, and the Bucks are taking on the Suns tomorrow night. So either one of those teams got to win, and if the Bucks lose, one of those teams will have an advantage. So there's still a lot less to be played, but I feel good about where that Bucks pick is. The Rockets pick, I feel like that's the least pick that we're probably going to get really decent value on, just because the Rockets are playing so well right now. They've really turned it up lately. They were on a 10-game winning streak, so I don't see them changing their position. But the Knicks, their last 8 games are definitely not easy, so I feel like the Knicks pick could be around 24, 25. But yeah, I think this week definitely will tell us a kind of lot more where this Bucks pick could be at the end of it if the Bucks don't win a lot this week.
So here we go. Toronto's schedule is obviously a joke. The Bucks have the Knicks, the Nuggets, the Wolves, 2 with the Pistons. They're easy games. They got 2 with New Orleans, 2 with Phoenix. That depends. Whether or not those games are easy depends on what Phoenix wants to do. Is Phoenix trying to get in? Or do they quit on the season? And they have the Hawks as an easy game. I don't know why that's easy. And then the Heat, like their easy games aren't that easy. The Bucks schedule is actually kind of difficult to close out the season. So I feel good that pick will be no worse than 19. It could get better. It could get more beneficial. I don't think it's going to get worse.
Right.
Go ahead.
And the Suns are starting to turn up lately. Since Bradley Beal's gone down, the Suns with Katie and Booker actually are playing the way they were supposed to play. So maybe keep Bradley Beal out this week and let the young guys who are on that team are playing well this year, let them get more run. And I think the Suns, if they could take on the Bucks and get at least 1 out of 2 against them, that helps us for our pick as well. And like you said, the Pistons, they faced them the last 2 games of the season. The Pistons, they're 2-0 against them, but the Pistons have been playing a lot better lately. And the Bucks are a team like the Knicks that are kind of getting weathered down because their main guys have to play so many minutes and can't afford to have much rest. So, yeah, I definitely think the Bucks pick is looking good. The Knicks pick is going to look decent. And I think those 2 picks for our lottery pick are going to be our main threshold of where we're going to build our draft on this year. So it'll be interesting to see if we trade one of those picks or we might potentially get lucky with the prospect that we really want. So things are definitely lining up. Just a few more games left to kind of see where it's all going to end up at.
Yeah, it's the 2 games that I would mark on our schedule are the Dallas games, which they could win because Dallas has almost nothing left. And then the other 2 games that I would mark are the Toronto games. Now, Toronto is competing with us. How important is it for us to lose those 2 Toronto games?
So damn important. But even like I told you, Gary, even though they have an easy schedule, the Raptors are still losing a lot of games because they are the
I know.
smartest strategic tanking team. Gotta give them props. Like, listen, the Raptors probably should get a top pick this year. I don't want to be a top 3 pick before us, but they've definitely done things as best as you can with trying to tank the right way. They lost a lot of games early, started winning a couple games. They made the trade for Ingram. They still have Scotty Barnes. And now you have movable contracts and RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly. They probably want to get off of Barrett this summer. So the Raptors are in a good position right now because they handle things in a really smart, calculating fashion. And now, even with an easy schedule, they are purposely losing a lot of these games. So that's kind of why me and Gary Nellis harp on could Brooklyn have done a slightly better job as opposed to letting the vets carry a lot this year. But we'll find out on May 12th. Then we'll find out if the fifth odds are good or potentially not good. It could go either way at this point, but we'll see how it all unfolds.
It's. I want to address this. The Bucks pick could fall to 23. I mean, in theory, it could. It could go to 15, right? I mean, there's enough games where that's mathematically possible. I don't foresee that happening. Why would the Bucks? So for 23, the Bucks would have to catch Memphis. That's not going to happen. I don't really. I mean, could it mathematically happen? Yeah, but it's likely not going to happen. That's almost certainly they're not going to catch the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks aren't going to catch the Grizzlies. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. All right, so I want to get into that. The Toronto games are must-lose games. Cam Johnson. Why is Cam Johnson still playing? Is Cam Johnson the leader of this team? Like he's being treated? D'Lo didn't play. A lot of guys aren't playing right now. They shut Cam Thomas down for the season. Why is CJ still playing? He almost won a game again yesterday. Why is Cam Johnson playing and playing starters minutes?
Because he has a stake in this team now. Listen,
I wouldn't be surprised.
when the Brooklyn commentators yesterday, because I heard this beginning of
He
the,
played
of the show,
37 minutes yesterday. Why?
yeah. The commentators mentioned that, the Pacers got their leader back in Tyrese Halliburton. The Nets have their leader in Johnson. Listen, leaders on a team, especially a team that's supposed to be competing or building something, you want to be a leader that's actually going to be a long-term part of your future. Cam Johnson is about 8 months away from turning 30. He's still making over $20 million in the next 2 years. I don't see leadership with Johnson. And I'll give Brady some credit. In his show yesterday, he said, listen, Johnson is scoring some good buckets, but he's missing something. Yeah, he's not a leader or a building block piece of this future. He's bumping up his stats on a bad team. Let's remember, before this season, he was averaging 13 points to the lottery pick, and he got $90 million because this organization foolishly thought his buddy Mikal wanted to be here when he didn't. So Johnson, kind of rode that the coattails of that money train right there. And then he was bad his first year, and then the second year it was eh. So, and this year he's finally showing you things, but he's not a building block piece. So, for him to play all these games, Gary, it doesn't make sense right now. We should be letting the young guys get as much burn as possible. And the crazy thing is, after the deadline, Johnson's kind of had a lot of average games. He still had some decent scoring games, but from where he was before the trade line to trade down, a completely different story. We should be resting him right now, letting the young guys get run, and figure out a way this summer to trade Johnson on draft night to a team that probably wants him potentially. I don't see a leader with this guy. I don't know why Sean Marks sees him as the next Patty Mills, Joe Harris of this team. He's not. He's on a $20 million salary, and are we going to re-sign this guy in 2 years when he's 32? It makes no sense. If we can't get something for him this summer, we are doomed with that contract at this point, and I don't want that for Brooklyn. But with the way Marks gives this guy the leadership title, that's a little scary if you're trying to do this the right way.
Does that mean he's going to be here moving forward? I mean, he's the leader of the team. Is he going to be here?
He shouldn't, but
he's going to go watch this organization. He's going to retire here in 20 years, and he's going to get a job in the front office and a gold watch.
My God. He's gonna grow that beard out, and he's gonna grow the Goldilocks hair and all that. It's just foolish. And then when we did the interview with the Bridge with Marks, he said, "Oh, I see different iterations that Johnson fits. Different iterations. He's almost 30 years old. How many iterations is Johnson going to be on this team for?"
The timing makes no sense, right? He's 30.
Exactly.
He's a role player, and I'm not saying he's useless. He's a role player. He's a catch and shoot guy. It's what he is. He can run 3-point line to 3-point line. They don't have. Who's he playing the role to? Who on this team? They don't have Giannis. They don't have Zion, right? If they have those guys, it may make sense to have them. They don't have those guys. So who's he playing the role to? He's not a shot creator. He doesn't create offense for others. And he has no one on this team to play a role to offensively. So why is he here? I'm saying the same thing about D'Lo. Like, why is Cam Johnson here? But why is he playing 37 minutes? None of this makes any sense.
It doesn't make sense. And you think about it, if we did make a move for Giannis this summer, Johnson's not a second or third option with a star. On a championship team, he's a fourth or fifth option at best. So if we sacrifice main assets to get Giannis, is he really going to want Johnson to be his teammate, his backup guy? No, he doesn't want that. Like, you got to find a way to get off his contract this summer or else you're stuck with it. And it just makes no sense because he doesn't play a lot of defense. He could shoot, he could throw out some assists, rebound a little bit, but he's not a complete player unless he has a star point guard or a star player next to him. And we're not building this team with Johnson as a cornerstone. Like, if we could get rid of Johnson on draft night, we're in a much better position than we are right now. Same with Claxton, and D'Lo shouldn't be brought back. But given this organization likes the nostalgia so damn badly, maybe it's going to happen. But with Johnson specifically, he just doesn't fit the timeline. You got your money. A lot of teams want you. This summer, if OKC or the Spurs want him on draft night and Marks wants 3 first-round draft picks to get off of Johnson, he's a foolish man at damn best for that one if he does that. If you could get a lottery pick for him on draft night, take it. If we're stuck with Johnson, it's just a lose-lose situation because he is not that guy that's going to help you become a championship team.
Okay, Mark, you can respond to this, John. The leadership role isn't a role that's filled by your best player or oldest player or highest salary player. On our team that stinks, he is the leader by default given his impact and age production. Go ahead, John.
He's bumping up stats on a bad team. And listen, he said some interesting things on podcasts about how he would redo the All-Star game, how he would do this and that. And then what do you do at the All-Star game, Gary? He gave you 14 points and got knocked out the first round of the three-point shooting contest. And that's his main skill. No, but it's the funny thing. That's his main skill. And he got clowned on that night. I don't want a leader like that represent my team. Let's understand that Johnson he covered all his bases this year. He said, I want to be here when I got, generational wealth. I get that. A lot of teams want him. He's covered. But still, if other teams want him, move off him this summer because we need the cap space flexibility, especially with figuring out Thomas' future. And if you do draft right, you don't want Johnson starting the position. If you get Asa Cooper, is Johnson going to start with those guys who will be playing off the bench? Most likely playing off the bench. If Johnson's playing off the bench and his production numbers drop, then his value gets worse. Your only out right now with Johnson is to trade him before draft night or on draft night because if he's anywhere past that, I just feel like the contract's going to get bad, and this guy has a bad health history as well. So why are we putting ourselves through this because this guy represents a leader tag that's not even significantly makes him a leader? Stars are leaders. Veteran players that don't play a lot could be leaders. But Johnson making $20 million to be a leader of a young, inconsistent team right now, that just doesn't make sense for us long term right now.
Look, I'm going to respond to Mark. We're reading too much into this leader title. Yeah, I would agree, but to me, then that means they may not trade him, and they haven't traded him despite 11 teams picking up the phone and calling Marks and saying, I'm interested in trading for him. It doesn't make any sense why he's here. And yeah, are we making a big deal about the leadership title? Yeah, but it's what it means. It means that is he going to be here to say? He never said Schroeder or Ben Simmons or any of those guys were the leader. Dorian Finney-Smith. It's this guy, the guy that he refuses to trade. But I just want to know, in this rebuild where Cam Johnson has 2 years left on his deal, how does he fit into what we're doing? And how does his contract at $22 million a year, how does that make sense in what we're trying to do? I don't understand that at all. But I don't want to get bogged up too much on that. I'm just not sure why he's playing. Why D'Lo's not playing? Cam Thomas isn't playing. Why is Cam Johnson playing, John?
This goes
37 minutes.
This goes back to Jordy having a lot of autonomy this year. I mean, he makes a lot of decisions with his team. I don't think the front office has had a lot to say in resting anybody this year until that Hornets game where we purposely botched that, which was to help with our tank odds. But other than that, Jordy has kind of said, listen, if you're healthy, you're going to play. And he trusts the vets a lot this year, more so than a lot of the young guys. And I think that was kind of a mistake on even Jordy's part because, Jordy, if you say you can develop players, you shouldn't have to rely on your vets to play 37 minutes a night. Even on back-to-backs, they shouldn't be doing that. I think for Jordy this year, if we do go younger, if the front office actually grows a pair and actually makes some really good decisions, and Jordy's a much younger roster, I hope he starts trusting them more because this is not going to be an easy fix overnight. We need to actually build a structure and a system. And Jordy's kind of started to do that. He's building defensive principles and all that. But you don't have the talent right now. You have a lot of decent, maybe potential bench pieces, but you don't have those starting core pieces yet that you can actually develop. And I think Jordy needs to prepare himself for that because that's where the real work is going to start. This is interesting right now, what he's done. But Johnson playing 37 minutes a night does not make sense right now when other guys like Maxwell Lewis was finally getting minutes, but then you have guys like Tariq Whitehead and Drew Timmy. I know this is what Drew Timmy did in the G League the other day, Gary, 50 points. And he probably should have got called up. Like, there are young guys knocking on the door right now, and we have nothing to fight for this end of the season. All these young guys should be getting some burn right now. But this front office has given Jordy a lot of power, and Jordy wants to roll with the vets. But at the end of the day, we should be focusing on players developing and seeing if they could be part of our team next year. That's what the last 10 games, 10 or 11 games should be about. I hope we get there in maybe game 10. But right now, if Johnson's playing all these minutes, it doesn't make sense.
Is Cam Johnson going to be a part of this team next year?
50-50 right now, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's 50-50 because there's a chance if he's not moved on draft night, what are we doing with him at that point? I don't think anybody's going to want him for a first-round pick at that point, and given Sean Marks doesn't like to sell, low or be wise, he's probably just going to hold on to it at that point. So this summer is probably our realistic chance to get off of Johnson's contract, and he has outs, but will Marks take the outs?
Whenever we want. John, we can get all of them whenever we want to. We have 11 teams pick up the phone. Now, maybe not all of those trades are great, but we know we could have got him from the Marcus Smart. We know we could have got rid of him. We know we could have got him to San Antonio. We know we could have sent him to Memphis. We know this for a fact, and he's still here. So when you say it's 50-50, John, if I would have said to you last year when they traded Bridges, if I would have said to you, what is the odds that Cam Johnson is on this roster past the trading deadline? You would have said like 0, right? Like 0%. Here he is. Like, I don't know that he's getting traded. Like, he's the leader of the team. I think he may be Marks may view him as the building block. Like, he stays no matter what. I really believe that. I don't know that, and he could get traded. But, like, why is he still here, and why is he still playing 37 minutes? It blows my mind. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand.
It's a philosophical issue. Like you said, Gary, Marks has a problem with overvaluing role players to some extreme degrees. And I get it. Johnson had 3 great months where he matched the Kevin Durant stat. But for most of his career, he has not done that. That's why NBA owners weren't going to throw the kitchen, the sink, the house at this guy to get him on the team. They will give you a pickup for the guy, but not for 3 good months. Johnson has not shown you that most of his career, so that's probably still the offer in a lot of teams' mind. On draft night, the Spurs might be willing to give up their 11th lottery pick to get Johnson because they want to compete and contend in the future. If Marks can't be happy with that, he can't be at the helm. If you can't even take a lottery pick because you want an extra pick on top of it, he's a foolish jerk at that point. You can't be like that with business. You have to be willing to pivot at a certain point. If there's a team that's willing to give up a first-round pick for Johnson on draft night, take the out. I don't know why he overvalues role players so much because it's a weird philosophical issue that he has with that. You should not overvalue Johnson like that. He's worth a first-round pick, but 2 to 3 picks? No, he's not worth that.
All right. Before we get into Watford, who I want to ask you about, I have to do this, John. I have to do it every day. Nick Claxton, 32 minutes, -6. And Daron Sharp had one of his worst days as a professional. He was brutal yesterday. 17 minutes +2. So on his worst day, the Nets are still a plus, and Claxton is still a negative. John, why? I'm going to keep asking why? Why is Claxton playing 32 minutes and Sharp playing 16, 17 minutes? Why is that not backwards?
You know what's crazy? For 1 second, I got a challenge for you, Gary. Try to find all of Claxton's plus or minuses and give us a tally of how many minuses he's had versus pluses. I just want to see the total, Gary. You can find that out for us. We'd appreciate that.
Since I've been doing this, I've been doing it for about 30 games now. He's had 2+ games. 2. Why?
Oh my God.
Why is he? Why?
He should be rested too. Like, listen, let's call the obvious. That was a horrible investment, giving him $100 million to keep him. You probably should try to sign and trade him and get what you can. But you kept him because you wanted to be a part of his future to reward him for being a homegrown player. He has not shown you the same faith. He has not evolved his game this year. Offensively, he's only made 3 or 5 mid-range shots. I think he made 1 3 again this year. Whoop-de-doo. And defensively, he's had a lot of up and down performances. For every good performance he's had a really bad, mediocre performance. You just can't have that inconsistency. Yes, we don't have the team right now around Claxton, but if we have to get 2 stars to get Claxton to play at his best, that's not smart for us right now. We can't do that to make Claxton happy. Your best bet is to rest him now, trade him this summer to the Lakers, and get a new center in this draft. Claxton as an undersized power forward is not going to be our center of the future helping us win a title. We have to get off of Claxton this summer because these numbers, you just can't trust that. You can't build around somebody like that. And for Day'Ron to be outshining him in less minutes in multiple games, that's a big issue. So I hope his organization is starting to feel what you, me, and others are feeling, that Claxton has not rewarded you with the contract you gave him because his numbers are just going down, down, down unless he gets stars on this team, which we're not going to rush just to make Claxton's numbers better.
Yeah, I want Mark. That's correct. He did. I forgot about that. Sharp had a nice pass out of a double team yesterday. He did. He's just better. I'm not saying Sharp is great with the ball in his hands. He's clearly better with a basketball in his hands than Nick Claxton is. He's a better rebounder than Nick Claxton. He's not going to get big boyed constantly like Nick Claxton does. It's enough now with Claxton. I've seen enough. Stop it. Stop the fight now. Someone. Don't send your fighter back out for another round, Jordy. He's done. Nick Claxton sucks at basketball. End of discussion. Case closed. Case dismissed. I want to get into someone you've been brutal on. Trendon Watford, who you've not been a fan of. And Locked On Nets is really locked on Trendon Watford. They love him. No disrespect to him. They love Trendon Watford. He's their favorite player. Trendon Watford to Lock On Nets is what D'Lo is to me and Cam Thomas is to Breezy, right? They love them some Trendon Watford. They do. And I don't even think he's a bad player. It's fine. I'm not hating. I'm just saying they love Trendon Watford. He did really good, and he left some points on the line. He could have had a 30 burger if he hits his free throw. What are your thoughts on the way Trendon Watford played yesterday? And when we talk about players who can be on this roster, we never really mentioned Watford. Are you interested in bringing Watford back next year? We never really mentioned his name because he's been, hurt for most of the season.
Yeah, see, that's what you got. There's a lot of factors that could decide what Watford's future is with us or any team in the NBA. Because remember, he banked on himself taking the $3 million qualifying offer, got hurt in spring training because Jordy made them work out. Finally, we have a coach that was the team to actually work on building their strength. Watford, got hurt with that, and then he was out for multiple months. Then he comes back, starts playing well. I think he was out again for a little bit, and then he's been starting to play much better lately. Listen, he's had some really good games off the bench. He's kind of been the enforcer, as you say, the Watford Brooklyn brawler. Listen, he's definitely shown you that he cares about this team, cares about bringing the moxie, the energy. But as far as his future goes, there's a lot of different factors to consider. What is his position right now? He's like a mix of a point guard and a forward. If we draft a Dylan Harper and bring D'Lo back, you can't put Watford at point guard. And if you draft a Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey and you re-sign Zaire Williams, who plays forward too, what happens with Watford? Does he become a third stringer? I feel like there's whoever we draft, whoever we re-sign this summer, will kind of play a role in maybe assing out Watford. So I feel like as good as Watford has done, I think he has to hope that these players we draft or re-sign or maybe trade for as a facilitator don't take his spot on this team. So I think Watford should keep doing what he's doing, but I don't see Watford coming back anything more than maybe an $8 to $10 million salary for maybe 2 to 3 years.
That's a lot. 8 to 10. Wait, 8 to 10 per year for 3 years?
Or two, something like that. He's never had a big contract right now. Let's remember, he's never had a big contract, so I'm not going to throw $12, $15 million his way.
That's what I'm saying. There's a reason why he's never gotten a big contract, because he's a borderline rotational guy. I mean, no shade at the Locked On Nets guy who loved him, but Trendon Watford's not a starter in the NBA.
Yeah, and then who you draft, and if you re-sign D'Lo, he can't play backup point guard. If you re-sign Zaire, who's the backup forward, you really can't play Watford too much. So he would kind of be like that third stringer that would play on nights that those guys aren't playing. And is that good value? Is that a guy that's going to be a cornerstone piece of your future as a bench piece? I don't know. I feel like we're just kind of giving him the contract at this point and then maybe flipping him for something. I mean, I understand that if you want to re-sign Watford and then use him as a trade piece down the line, I totally get that. But still, I kind of want pieces that are going to be a part of our future right now, because we really have a lot of guys fighting for future contracts or just to stay in the NBA. And I don't want to bring guys on if we're going to trade them or something, or they're not a real long-term fit. So I feel like with Watford, the jury's still out right now on what his future exactly is on his team. What role can he really hold on this team as well?
Yeah, I think he's playing well. And I'm pleased with what he's done, but I don't really see a. I'm not paying him. You know what I'm saying? Like that's like, thank you for your service. I'm not going to pay you any more money. We're done with that.
GM Gary.
Yeah. I don't. What a concern of mine is what we've seen out of my boy, who we all love, Noah Clowney. Since he came back, John, it's been ugly. It's been. That's the wrong one. Hang on one second. Let me pull up his game log real quick. He had another brutal shooting day yesterday, and it's been 3 in a row now since he came. 0 for 5, 0 for 3 from 3, 3 for 10, 1 for 7 from 3, 2 for 10, 1 for 6 from 3. So in the last 3 games since he came back, he's 2 for 16 from 3 and 5 for 25 from the field.
Yeah,
is it time to be concerned about his shooting?
No, listen, I think, unfortunately for Clowney this year, just when he was getting in good rhythms, he got hurt, and then he came back, got hurt. Like, it's been hard for him to have that consistency factor to his game, and now he's coming off the bench. He was starting most of the season, so now you have to have him come off the bench. It's like he has to kind of like relearn his role there, and I just feel like for Clowney, it's like he has to just finish the season healthy right now. Don't get injured anymore. Just finish the season healthy and see what else you can contribute and try to get better from these cold spells he's having right now. But I think this summer, Clowney definitely has to add more offensively to his game, defensively work on some things, and just be a more complete player next year and be healthy next year. I think that's what Clowney needs to focus on. But it's kind of unfortunate that he was starting and now he's coming off the bench. Like, we have to figure out what Clowney's role is as well, depending on who we draft. Is Clowney a bench piece of our future, or is he a starter? And I thought this season with him and Claxton that those two would develop some type of chemistry. But with Claxton, he was missing some games this year, and then Clowney got hurt. We never really got to see the Clowney and Claxton combination on defense. So you wonder, if we somehow keep Claxton, could him and Clowney start next year maybe and kind of get back to what they were doing the previous year? Well, we'll see. But I just feel like it's unfortunate that Clowney got hurt this year because I feel like that really hurt his momentum and what he was trying to build. So I think for him this summer, work on your offensive game, crisp up the defense, and just come back a lot more balanced next year. I think that's what Clowney needs to work on right now.
Mark says he has no lateral movement. I think the ankle is not 100%.
Maybe, Mark. I think
why is he playing at all? Why is he playing? I mean, maybe I'm not saying you're wrong, Mark. But if that's the case, why is he playing at all? We're trying to win. I don't understand. If he's not healthy, if he's not 100% healthy, he should be playing 0 minutes. Is that fair?
It's fair, but given what Jordy is, if you need some tape or you need some glue on your leg, he'll do it himself with a bandage. Like Jordy wants you out there, even if you're like a little hurt. Unless you like, if you're really hurt, he won't let you play, of course. But Jordy wants these guys to compete at the best level possible. But I agree too. If he is hurt, I don't want to risk him hurt himself again.
What do we play? The season's over, John. The season's lost. Like there's no more playing possibility. That's done. What are we playing for? Like, there's no reason. There's no reason to have him playing if he's not 100%. Just play Keon Johnson some more minutes.
Honestly, I would rather just start Clowney and Sharp and rest Claxton. I want to see what Clowney and Sharp can do together.
Who cares at this point? I mean, who can play Maxwell Lewis?
Yeah, like I want to see a combination with Sharp and Clowney do the last 10 games. With Claxton, enough's enough with the bad negative performances. He looks checked out right now. He needs this summer to recover, to kind of get his mindset back. But with Clowney and Dayron, if they're on this team next year, I want to see what they can do together right now. If there's some young combination players on this team, I want to see work together, see what they can do together. These last 10 games should just be about the young guys. It shouldn't be about Johnson, D'Lo, and Claxton still getting minutes. If these guys are still playing with 9 games left to go, I think it's foolish, and I think we're not prioritizing the young guys right now like we should to close out the season if they're still here in like the next 2 games.
I want to move on. I want to get to a couple of things. First, I want to start with this, John. This got underneath your skin. Doesn't really get underneath my skin so much, but I want to play it anyway. Hang on. What did I do with it? Let me pull up again. Hang on one second. It's the Kyrie Irving clip. John thinks he's trash in Brooklyn. I don't see it that way. He's a Jersey kid. I'm going to play the Kyrie clip real quick. Give me 1 second. John, you sent it to me before, right?
Yes, on your Twitter.
Yeah. All right. Give me 1 second.
All right, we on to the next one. Y'all ready?
Oh, damn, they saying the only one that matters is Toronto. What about the Jersey one? Come on.
I'll show you the Jersey one real quick. Hold on. Let me give you a Jersey one. Here you go.
Oh, he got both. Oh,
There you go. It is. If you a real New Jersey fan, you know about this.
tough.
I had to get my joint made selfishly.
Hey, chat, I'm still in that one too.
I might wear this. You feel me? This is the real Jersey though. You feel me? Like this is when we weren't hijacked by Brooklyn. So there it is. All right.
Hijacked by Brooklyn. That's the real Jersey. I'm going to go first. I think he's just a Jersey kid. He grew up, he was a fan of the New Jersey Nets. They moved 15 miles away to Brooklyn. He still liked the team. He went to the team when he was a free agent. I don't think he's treasuring Brooklyn there so much. I'm thinking he's just a Jersey kid who fell in love with the New Jersey Nets. John, you have a different takeaway from that. What are your thoughts on what Kyrie Irving said there?
Well, just like he said, Brooklyn hijacked Jersey. Well, in his case, in his mind, the Earth is flat when it was hijacked by round Earth. So I don't mean to break that news to Kyrie, but hopefully he knows that now. But listen, this is the thing about Kyrie Irving. When he came to this team, he had all these big ideas about Brooklyn. We don't need coaches. I'm the leader. I can do all this. They didn't want to go party with his family. He didn't want to get the COVID shot. I understand some of that to a certain degree. But Kyrie Irving really tried to throw his weight around without actually showing those real leadership skills, and that was a disappointment. And then when this whole contract situation started playing out, he had his mother-in-law be his agent. I mean, you probably would be better to get a real agent, but Kyrie, he thinks he knows better than everybody else. So listen, at the end of the day,
John, to be fair, he's made a ton of money with the movie that was funny, and he's made a ton of money. So his mother-in-law is not doing a bad job. Can we be honest?
I think Kyrie Irving could have had something great here with Brooklyn. I just think he got in his own way, and I think this Jersey thing. Listen, if Kyrie Irving won a championship with Brooklyn,
he's a loser. But his mother-in-law has still done a good job as his agent. Two things: he can be a loser, and his mother-in-law can be a good agent. Both those things can be true.
Now, I'm not going to call him a loser because he's done a lot in his NBA career. He's won a title. He's done all that, so he has a right to say. Has a right to have opinion on certain things. I just think with Kyrie Irving, he's his own worst enemy most of the time. And if he won a title with his team, I bet you would have told Josiah and Sean, why are we in Brooklyn? Let's go back to Jersey. I already helped you win a title. Let's do it. And Josiah would have been. Listen, I think this is the thing about Brooklyn right now. Marketability-wise, economic-wise, we are in a much better position than we were in Jersey. Listen, resume-wise, they went to the finals twice. We haven't done that in Brooklyn yet, so I'll give Jersey that. But marketability-wise, if Kyrie went to Jersey, would KD and James realistically went with him to Jersey, or they've gone to a bigger market? I don't want to say the Knicks, but they probably would have went somewhere like that because they want to go where the market's at, where they could get all types of players. So I think what Brooklyn has that Kyrie doesn't understand is you had all the pieces around you, Kyrie. You just had to be healthy and show up. That's all you had to do.
That's a great question, John. That's a great question. So John asks, if they didn't move to Jersey, would they have him and KD had gone there? Well, that's an interesting question to ask, right? So Kyrie wanted to play for the Nets because he grew up a Nets fan. Would KD have gone with him? And if KD didn't go with him, would he have gone by himself? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that if they played in Jersey, that KD would have went with him to Jersey? I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I have no idea what the answer is. Maybe, but you're right.
Do you see what Mark just said? Yo, Mark, I gotta give you some credit. That was funny. They didn't have COVID vaccination. That's crazy. Oh, we should have moved the facility to Jersey to accommodate Kyrie. That was the problem. Kyrie Irving wanted us to accommodate him every step of the damn way. But when we asked Kyrie to do something for us, it was oh, you guys suck. I want to get out of here. That was Kyrie's problem, man. You don't sacrifice for the team, but you sacrifice. So I know he's doing good on Memphis with the Mavs, but still, man, all he had to do was put the team first a little bit, and he couldn't even do that much. So listen, we're in a much better position, marketability-wise, economic-wise.
I want to address that. When KD went down, how did the Nets do with just Kyrie?
We were competitive, actually, some of the games.
We were not. The Nets were brutal without KD. That's what made James Harden quit the team. They were brutal without KD. He went to Dallas. the Mavs were brutal without Luka. He was at Boston. Boston went to the Eastern Conference Finals when he got hurt and when he left. But when he was healthy, they lost in the second round. He's a loser. He doesn't make teams better. He doesn't. He's a second option, and that's it. That's all he is. If he's asked to be the man, the team's brutally bad, no matter where he goes. Tell me where I'm wrong.
You're not wrong. And it was crazy when we were on that 18-2 streak before KD went down. Even when KD went down, it was just Kyrie. Kyrie finally woke up and was leading the team. And then he says, I want out because I'm not getting all my money. Like, we were 18-2. Even that iteration of the team we had was playing really well. We were in first place, and he wants out. Like it just made no sense. The organization was expecting it. Nobody was expecting Kyrie to be this damn bossy at that point when we were actually winning and having a consolidation. He was leading the way. Now he wants his money. Like, Kyrie, you have to be healthy for multiple seasons, multiple games and weeks and months. You can't just be healthy for 3 months and say, I want a max salary contract. We're not going to give that to you until we actually win a title. But he's like, no, I want the money first. Like, listen, Kyrie Irving, man, it was a headache to get him. But listen, Joe Desai and Sean Marks, if the goal was to win a title, you should have done a hell of a lot more to keep that intact. Because if you had KD and James, we could carry Kyrie Irving's diva baggage. We could, but man, it's just unfortunate the way all that ended. Like, we were on the path twice. We were on the path to maybe winning a title, and because of Kyrie, because of the stars, toxicity, and all that, it unfortunately ruined that. But we were actually had the making of something really good. It's just unfortunate the way it all broke down.
Sorry about that. I glitched out.
No, it's all right. It's all right. I was like, the screen folks on me there.
Watch how the negotiations with him and Dallas go next year. Why would he go back to Dallas next year, Mark? I don't know how that's going to go. He's a free agent this year. Dallas is clearly in bad shape after the Luka trade. They may have to forfeit games. They don't have enough healthy play. Dallas is in a disaster right now. I'm not sure he's going back to Dallas next year, to be honest, Mark. If he doesn't get what he wants while he's on an expiring and recovering from torn ACL, you will see the old Kyrie. Yeah, I don't know what I don't know what Kyrie's. He's a loser. Kyrie's a loser.
And that's the thing the Nets got to figure out. If they go down the star route again, you got to get a star here that actually wants to be committed to the process. Not that if something goes wrong, they just disconnect from the team entirely for like multiple weeks and months and say, "Oh, I want out. I want to get traded." Like, until the organization figures out how to get the communication style better, I don't want us to gamble on stars right now, Gary, because you want the stars to be here. You don't want to just give up assets anymore, and they want out after a year of playing well, but they didn't win. Like, we need stars that actually are committed to this process, and I wonder if our management organization are committed as well to making sure the stars do want to be here this next time around if we go down that route. We can't have what happened with Katie, Kyrie, and James happen ever again, or else we're just screwed as an organization. Like, there has to be something to change there, because you just don't want stars here to sell tickets and then leave in a year or two. Like, that can't happen again for Brooklyn.
Dylan just tweeted that he agrees with Kyrie that the team got hijacked by Brooklyn.
He's a Jersey guy. I'll give it to him. He's a Jersey guy. I can't take that away from him.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it was a shot at I really don't see it as a shot at the organization. It kind of is in a way, but he was upset that they moved his team. I mean, it is what it is. And Nets Kingdom just tweeted out Jaeger Denham is being held as top playmaker at the 2025. Do not draft him, Brooklyn. I don't want him. I don't want him. I don't want him.
What?
I've watched him enough now. You want him?
Did you see what he just did last night with the points, rebounds, and assists?
I don't want him. I've watched enough. I've watched him a lot the last couple of weeks. I don't want you want him at 5?
If we don't have a point guard with a lottery pick, that Bucks pick, I'm kind of deciding between Sorber and Igor and Boogie Flynn. Like, if Igor's around that bracket, it's really between him and Sorber at that point. But getting a 6'8", 6'9" point guard in this team is not a bad gamble for us. And he has the vision and height. It's just the offensive identity. Can he do what he did last night more consistently? That's what everybody wants to see. And if we could get a 6'9" point guard, I'm not going to complain right now in the beginning, because Jordy has shown you he works on these players' weaknesses. So whatever Jaeger has a weakness, Jordy will figure it out quickly and work on it with him. So if we have a shot at Jaeger, I'm not going to say it's a bad thing for Brooklyn. I really won't. So he's still an option for teams. He's not just going to be picked 30 in this draft. That would be wild. He would have to drop significantly to lose stock like that.
So let me ask you, You don't want him at 5. So you actually agree with me. You don't want him at 5.
He's still a
good.
decent prospect, but he's not lottery prospect because he has dropped off a bit.
That's fine. If you want to take him, I don't really want him. I've watched enough. I don't want him. But hypothetically, the Brooklyn Nets right now are in the 5th position. Let's say they draft 5. I want to bring this up. The Brooklyn Nets have the 5th overall pick. Flagg, Harper, Edgecombe, and Bailey are gone. So the big 3 and Edgecombe are gone. Who are you taking? Colin Murphy-Boyles, Kamen Maluak, I hope I'm saying that right, and Jeremy Fears. John, who would you take? Or someone else?
Well, right now, I actually have
5. The 4 big names are gone.
Here's the interesting thing. I have a 3-way tie right now at 5th with my odds right now. If I had the 5th odds, I would say right now it's a 3-way tie between Jeremiah Fears, Trey Johnson, and Derek Queen. I think those 3 offensively are playing really well right now. If we're trying to get the best overall player, if we have the 5th pick, it's really between those 3 guys. Do you go with the second best point guard who's really rising up the rankings like Jeremiah Fears, or do you go for one of the best bucket scorers who's like a Cam Thomas 2.0, but potentially better, or do you go with the best offensive big in this draft in Derek Queen, who defensively has some things just work, but offensively he's been crushing it. So it's a 3-way tie for right now. I'd be fine with either one of those 3 with the 5th pick, because we do need that guy that can offensively help this team get to a different level with that identity. So I think right now, if I have the 5th pick from the Brooklyn Nets, are probably more between Fears and Johnson right now. I don't know if the Nets are going to draft Queen in the top of the lottery, but I think Trey Johnson or Fears could be around 5th or 6th for sure right now. So I would see those 2 as the front runners of that pick.
I would say let's take Fears. I like Maluak. You didn't mention Maluak. The one name that we agreed on was Fears. So let's say Fears wins the poll by a landslide. I think Fears is the pick. He's played really well. He can score. Would you call him a pass first or a score first point guard? How would you classify him, John? Because he's kind of both.
He's got a mix right now, right?
Yeah.
Some people say he's got a little Westbrook in him. He's got that scoring chop. Like, he could pass the ball out. Like, he's got a lot of energy. I call this kid the lightning bolt because he literally came out of nowhere and struck with a mighty axe. He really did. So if we get him, the second best point guard, that's not a bad way to use your lottery pick if it's around 5th or 6th. So Fears definitely has that Brooklyn storyline written over him, and him and Thomas, that would be an interesting combination to see next year. You got your scoring guard, you got your young point guard, see what that backcourt can do, and it helps you try to figure out if Fears really is that good and if Thomas could play with the younger point guard that has skill. So I think we get Fears. It would definitely be a good pick for us to start out draft night, and he's got a lot of upside there for sure. So it'll be interesting to see if he really is at that echelon that the Nets see him as other people see him at.
And he's 6'4", right? He's got decent size. So he's not a little guy. He's not little. He's 6'4", 182, decent size. Yeah, I would take, if this was the scenario, we picked 5 and then the 4 names that you would expect to be gone are all gone, I would actually take Fears over Edgecombe if that were me. Like if the Nets picked 4th and Flagg, Harper, and Bailey were gone, I would take Fears at 4. I would take him ahead of Edgecombe.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I really do like Fear's game. I just think defensively, Edgecombe is putting a lot more work on that side of the game. I think with Edgecombe, he has the toolkit. It's just, can he find the right coaching staff to bring all that out of him? Yesterday, in the game that he won with Baylor, he made some really clutch free throws, had a bad first half, kind of made up for in the second half. Edgecombe just has those things. I think Jordy could really morph into something good. So I don't think Fears would jump him necessarily, but I like your thought process on that. I think Fears definitely has a realistic shot of cracking top 6 right now if he continues doing what he's doing, as long as he's in the tournament. So, hopefully, if we get him, that he can really be that building block piece and really just add to the Brooklyn lore we're trying to create right now. Like, getting a point guard in this draft with your first lottery pick would be a good way to start it out. We do need a point guard, and Fears and Thomas could definitely be a combination that could maybe do well for Brooklyn.
He's playing right now. He's got a pretty nice stat line: 7 points, 4 rebounds, no assists right now for Edgecombe. And Baylor trails Duke by 6, 33-27 with 4 minutes to go in the first half. Now, he's a productive college player. I just don't see a refined game that I think is going to translate particularly well at the NBA level. I don't see a highly refined skill set that makes me think he's going to be a high level scorer in the NBA. I think Fears can handle the ball. I think Fears can score. I think Fears is a true point guard. I think he's a better shooter right now. I think his game is more NBA ready than Edgecombe. I think he has probably a little bit lower ceiling than Edgecombe, but his floor is not nearly as low as Edgecombe. I think Edgecombe could be an all-star. He could be Emmanuel Mudiay. And like we don't know until you don't know what's in the box until you open it, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting. And I think for the front office, this is going to be interesting. If they draft Trey Johnson or Edgecombe, those are two guys that could potentially be in competition with Thomas as far as who holds that main spot on that team. So the organization's thinking if you get Jeremiah Fears, it's like you still believe in Thomas to a certain degree, and you don't want the guy that you draft to necessarily compete with him for a spot on this team. Whereas if you get Jeremiah Fears, he's the one, Thomas the two, and there's no overlapping there. If you get Edgecombe or Johnson, there's the fear in some people's minds, in my mind for sure, that there's going to be an overlapping with Cam Thomas because who would play point, who would play two? Like, there's a lot more questions if you get Edgecombe or Johnson and Thomas is still on this team. Whereas if you get Jeremiah Fears, not a lot of questions. It's just how will the two gel together at the 1 and the 2. So it's probably a lot more clearer if you get Fears. But this organization will tell us how they view Thomas if they draft somebody that could potentially move him off the team if Thomas can't handle rolling this team. So we should see what the front office does on May 12th, depending on where they land. If they care about how the player fits with Thomas or if the player could be better than Thomas, I think we'll get a lot of insight there on draft night.
We'll address this comment real quick from Mark. Mark says, I'm looking at the Nets like the mid-2000 Celtics. Didn't win lottery 06 or 07 and traded for stars to join the core they created with Rondo, Perkins, Tony Allen, and homegrown Pierce. Okay, first, we don't have anyone like Allen or Rondo, to be fair. Perkins, I'm just going to throw out. Allen and Rondo's a Hall of Famer, and Tony Allen is maybe the best defensive guard that's ever lived. We don't have that. We have Tosan from Walmart and Beekman. What happened to Beekman?
Oh, he's in the G League right now. I think it was his minutes or something like that, or the amount of games he could play. They should bring them up right now.
We have Tyrese Martin, not Tony Allen. Yeah, I understand the comp, Mark, and what's most important is not only do we not have Rondo and Tony Allen or Paul Pierce, and instead we have Tyrese Martin, Keon Johnson, and Cam Thomas. We have Sean Marks. That's the X factor. That whatever plans you have for this team, you now have to rip it down and live with the reality that we have Sean Marks, not Danny Ainge. Okay, if we had Danny Ainge as a GM, we'd be in a much different situation right now. So, like, whenever you guys try to get your hopes up, just remind yourself that you have Sean Marks, and he's going to destroy any plans that you have. So, I kind of understand the comparison, although they're in way better shape than we were. Like, we don't have anyone as good as Rondo. We don't have a guard like Tony Allen, and we definitely don't have a top 75 player of all time like Paul Pierce. So, John, give me your thoughts on this comp.
No, listen. I think
and then we have Sean Marks, not Danny Ainge. Like, that's
Gary just made a lot of valid points. Like, at the end of the day, having Sean Marks in charge of our two and most important lottery picks we probably ever had is such a scary proposition because he's mostly drafted guys around the 20, 30s, even second round bracket. Like, this is his first time ever drafting a lottery pick. Is he going to go with the best overall player that could potentially snuff out somebody like Thomas if their roles go against each other? Or will he choose a player that's complementary, meets a position of need that we need? Because we need a point guard, we need an all-star power forward, and we need a center right now. So hopefully Marks addresses one of those areas with our lottery pick at the very least. If we address one of those areas, it's a good start to draft night. Then it's what the other positions that you need. So if Marks actually drafts right this summer, good, we have something to start with. But if he drafts redundant players or players that play the same position or doesn't actually draft a big man, it's like we're still stuck in the same damn neutral gear, which is not getting better. So, this summer is Sean Marks' most important draft of his career. This is where he's going to put his legacy on the line and actually show us he can draft real talent that actually fits our timeline, our future. We need the real pieces. Like Gary just said, we got Tosan from Walmart, Reese Beekman, we have all these guys who are fighting for their lives to be on teams, but we don't have a starting core on this team. We need to get those pieces, and it starts this summer. So I expect this to be a very active summer for the Brooklyn Nets. If this summer is a snooze fest, we're in trouble. But this is a very active summer. We actually start making moves to build our future the right way. We actually have a shot at building something here in the next 2-3 years. But it starts this summer.
Let me bring LBL in on this. LBL.
Hey, sorry.
Mark says that we remind him of the 05, 06 that era Celtics who had Ricky Rondo, they had Tony Allen, and they had Paul Pierce. Do we have players like that?
No.
No, we have Reese Beekman and Keon Johnson. Not I don't think you guys understand how bad a shape we're really in.
Yeah, the level of talent, right?
Yeah.
That's why
Rondo is a borderline Hall of Famer. Tony Allen is a borderline superstar. It's like we don't have guys like that.
He is. He is in terms. Well, defensively, he was definitely a great defender.
Maybe the best defensive guard ever. Seriously, like he made life miserable for little point guards and big twos and everyone in between. He would guard Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Like no, we don't have a guy like him. We don't have anyone like him. Go ahead, LBL.
No, we don't. And that's what I was trying to say when Breezy was co-signing that malarkey article by I guess Nets Daily or whoever. Yeah. And I was saying that having 9 guys under the age of 25, it's like we could turn on any basketball game in college today and see that. It's the talent. It's not how old they are. It's the talent, and and what their ceilings are. I think we see that a lot of our guys, because you know what, I'd say 2 years ago I had high hopes for Trendon Watford. I had high hopes for Clowney.
I wouldn't quit on Clowney just yet. I wouldn't quit on him just yet.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, and I know they struggled with injuries and everything. But for me, I guess I'm Missouri, the show me state, because I'm like, Jordy Fernandez, he has to show me that, he could coach talent, and he has to show me that he could really develop guys, because I can't give him the credit of, I can't give him the credit of, say, a Zaire Williams, because Zaire Williams had guys who were better than him at the time playing in front of him at Memphis, right?
Yeah.
And, and it's not to take away from Memphis's coach. It's not like he's a better coach than the Memphis coach just because he decided to play him. So that's what I'm saying when I'm looking at all of this rah-rah about his development and everything. And Keon Johnson was a vagabond, right? I mean, he was young, but come on, he's barely played any basketball. So, and these guys are desperate, and they're playing against other teams where the teams aren't motivated to win. So when you see us playing so hard against them, it's like a mirage to me. So I'll just wait till we get more talent till I really judge this guy. And it's funny because it's the total opposite of, we finally got top 10 players in KD and Kyrie, and then they go and hire this freaking novice as a coach, a guy who's never coached anything in his life. I don't get it, but hey.
What's interesting, though? The article, I don't know if Gary saw it, but I can't grade this team yet. They say we have the 4th best rebuild ranking. We haven't even started it yet. We have a whole bunch of mishmash players in this team. You can't rank this team to where we are in 2 years with who we draft. They're trying to make predictions oh, you got the right coach, but the Nets need lottery luck to do well. You can't rank us yet. We haven't even started it yet.
They definitely lowballed Detroit, because Detroit, like I said, with Cade Cunningham and with Duran in the middle, and never mind the other young guys, but it's man, they could be set for the next 10 years. because at least you know what you're getting. I mean, Duran's floor is a 10-10 guy. Is a 10
Yeah, and he's
rebound.
not going to get big boyed like Claxton. He's not going to get pushed around and bullied by Claxton. He's going to do the bullying, right? Like,
Yeah,
if we're playing the Pistons and you have Jalen Duran, you feel pretty good about that. If you have Nick Claxton, you're like, oh, it's going to be a long day.
yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying, and those are key positions that those two guys are in, and they're 22 years old or something like that. Come on, they're set for the next decade if they keep them.
Yeah. I wanted to ask this question. I posed this question to John just a few minutes ago before you got on. Let's say right now we're in position to pick fifth, right? I know that can change. It's a lottery, but let's just say we picked fifth, and Cooper, the Rutgers guys, and VJ are gone. So the four guys you'd expect to go to the top four are all gone. Who would you take at 5?
I'm good with either Fears, or I'm good with well, the thing is, I don't know if they're gonna play Maluak. I like Maluak a lot, but I don't know. I don't know if Sean Marks knows, and if Jordy's gonna.
We're losing LBL a little bit here.
Signal went out.
All right. So I think we're all good. I think we're all good on Fears. I think the answer. I wanted Dylan, and Dylan's a little bit late. I'm gonna have to end this in a few minutes. I'm gonna have to wrap this up in about 10 minutes or so. But I think we're all good on Fears. So, John, if we took Fears at 5 and those 4 names were gone, are you happy with that?
Yeah, because we got our point guard. Like, listen, as long as we address the area of need with the lottery pick, I feel good about it because we need the building block pieces. As hard as some of these guys like Keon Johnson and Zaire and all these guys play, a lot of them are bench pieces. We need the starting core. You look at teams like Pistons, Washington, Portland, they have starting core pieces. Are they perfect teams? Hell no, but they still have pieces to add, but they have younger starting core pieces than we do. And that's where the real process has to start for Brooklyn. So you hope in this draft you could potentially land at least 2 potential starters with your lottery pick and maybe with your Bucks pick. I think for the Nets, that would be a successful draft night if you could find 2 potential starters in this draft. I think that's the main goal here. We're not going to be a legit team until we have an actual starting young core, and that's when you can start seeing if they can actually be part of that or those potential assets as well to get you a star to be with those young guys. But we have to start the process right this summer. So getting a Jeremiah Fears, I'll be happy with. And if you get a Trey Johnson or Derek Queen, I'll be happy with too, because you want to get the best overall player with your lottery pick. So it'll be interesting to see where Marks gets the pick drawn at and who he chooses. As long as you get a core piece, that's how you start the process on a great note.
All right, I want to take a look at the schedule ahead, and then BTB. I know the odds of getting the 5th pick is 2.2 right now. I know, but we're going to draft somewhere. We're saying if we draft in the position that we're at, who would you take? Me and Dylan and John too, if you want to jump on, are going to do a mock draft hopefully, and we'll get randomly selected a spot, and then we'll draft there. But if we're drafting where we are right now, what up, Yeti? Who would you take? Like that's the exercise that we're doing. I know in all likelihood the probability of us drafting at our actual 5 positions is not in our favor. I get it, but I want to look at the schedule ahead. I think we're back in decent position with the tank. I know this has been weird. We got the Mavs tomorrow. That's a game which is very winnable. Then we got the Raptors, then the Clippers, and the Wizards. Assuming that we lose to the Clippers. John, the other 3 games, we got to lose at least 2 of these, right?
Yeah, you would hope, but with this team, you never know. And I don't even know if the Mavs have players available tomorrow. Tomorrow's when the guys that are on 2-ways, if they don't have the amount of you need for a roster, that might be a forfeit game tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to find out if they're going to have enough players to suit up. I know Anthony Davis might try to come back this week. I hope he comes back Tuesday. If Davis comes back Tuesday against the Knicks, whoop-de-doo. But if he does come back tomorrow, the Mavs going to play. So it'll be interesting to see if we even have a game tomorrow. And we'll figure out how that all happens. If they don't have a game tomorrow, maybe we'll do a show tomorrow, Gary. If the game isn't played tomorrow.
I'm texting Dylan right now. I want to do a mock draft. You want to go live tomorrow?
I'll try to, but if not, we could do Tuesday if they have the game. But I'll try to see if I can come tomorrow.
Well, we're gonna go live tomorrow, Tuesday, because we got the game Monday. But I'm gonna go live with Dylan tomorrow. I'm texting him right now. It's in our text. I'm gonna try to do a live tomorrow. With Dylan. Hang on one second. Talk about the tank more for a second. Talk about our positioning and then the games with Toronto and Washington and Dallas.
Right. We only have about 11 games left, so the season's almost over, guys. I know it's been a crazy few months. Who would have thought we could get through a season that's supposed to be very predictable, which has been very unpredictable. It's been a roller coaster ride. And I'll give it to Jordy. He's kind of made the season somewhat digestible. We only got really blown out one time in 82 games, which is crazy considering the team we have. But the fact that this team put on a fight throughout most of the season, it's not an easy thing to do. So I hope for the fans that you did find something enjoyable out of this season, whether it was the team competing, getting surprise victories, growing in certain roles. Like, there are some things to take away from the season. But now towards the end, for the Nets, it's about keeping your lottery pick secure. And if you're facing teams that are near that Bucks pick, not winning them is a huge advantage, like the Clippers you just mentioned and some other potential teams. Like, as long as we don't win those games, we're helping build the value of our own Bucks pick as well. So it'll be interesting to see where our record is at the end of these 10 games, and the games that we do lose with the Bucks pick, how that's going to impact that as well. So the Nets are still in control of a few things here as the season winds down. It'll be interesting to see where all the cards fall at the end.
I wanted to address this, right? It's actually 5 games. After the Wizards, we have the Mavs. So we got one game you would assume we're going to lose. And then there's 4. We have 2 with the Mavs in a matter of a week. Those are very winnable games. John, of the next 5 games, 2 and 3, does it have to be 1 and 4? I can't see it being 0 and 5. Like, we're not going to lose all 5 of these games. We're going to get one of these. Your expectation, are they going to play D'Lo and Cam Johnson in most of these games? They are, right?
They really shouldn't. With 11
I know
games,
we shouldn't, but we have a back-to-back Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's crucial. Play everyone in the Clippers against the Clippers because you're going to lose anyway, and then sit everyone against the Wizards so you lose that game. Is that fair?
You should just be trusting the young guys. But now you say we have the Mavs, we have the Raptors, and the Wizards. If Johnson, D'Lo, and Claxton are playing, those are potential winnable games because those teams might rest their best available young players. So, and the Mavs don't even have a lot of players. So if we have the vets playing those games and they're still undermanned, we can win those games as well. So there's a lot of potential there for potentially ruining your pick a little bit if these vets play all these last few games. So just rest them and let the young guys play and you live with the results. If the young guys win that game because they played better than that other team, okay, you live with the result. But if the vets somehow influence these results, it could potentially hurt you a little bit there. So it'll be interesting to see if they do rest the vets. You should. There's only 11 games left, but with the way this organization runs things, it's really going to be on Jordy to say if they're going to play or not. So we should see how he does all that.
These games are going to be crucial. After that, the schedule gets real tough, but you got to, when you originally looked at the schedule, you're like, okay, well, they can lose 2 to the Mavericks. Now it's like those are very winnable games. If not, the Nets will be favored in them. It's not necessarily who you play, it's when you play them. And they're playing the Mavericks at the wrong time if you're tanking, right? Like,
right. Well, that's why you got to hope Davis comes back, because if Davis doesn't come back and they do shut him down, like, those are forfeited games at that point, because I don't think the Mavs could get their roster finished until like April 10th. So if Davis doesn't come back, which I hope he does, I know it's not good for his health on a team that's dealing with a lot of injuries, but if he comes back, we have a shot of them, beating us. But if he's out, we just get these wins because they don't have enough players. So that's a worry too. If we win these 3 games against the Mavs because they can't play, could that hurt our lottery odds? That's a huge question.
Yeah,
that
for sure it would.
hurt us a little bit.
I mean, if we win both those games, we're going to move up in the rankings. We got to lose at least one of those. It's going to be tough to lose to the Mavericks. I think we can lose to the Raptors. We'll lose to the Clippers. It's just we're going to win at least one of those, if not both of those games. I'm just being honest. Like, the Dallas has literally nothing. All right, but I got to wrap this up, John. So just to recap, I'll be going live tomorrow at some time with Dylan to do a mock draft. And if you want to get on with us, we'd love to have you on, John. If not, we'll be back Tuesday at normal time, 12:30.
Yeah, 12:30. Recap the game.
Hopefully the Nets lose to Dallas. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they should let us know if they play tomorrow early. So maybe if they somehow the game gets canceled, we could just do the mock draft and then just do a recap. We could do a recap of the game that didn't happen. So we'll see how that all plays out. But I'll see if I can make it tomorrow. And if not, we'll do Tuesday. Okay.
Sounds good, John. All right,
All right,
y'all. March
so, man.
23rd, 2025. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe on your way out. March 23rd, 2025 from Texas to the world. Thank you, and God bless.
Peace.